In the forgotten village of Mistwood, where moss-covered cottages huddled between ancient oaks and morning mist lingered until noon, lived an old woman known to all as Grandmother Eloise. Her weathered hands told tales of 80 winters, but her eyes sparkled with the mischief of a girl who had just discovered the world's best secret. What made Eloise remarkable wasn't her age or her tiny cottage at the edge of the forest, but rather her uncanny ability to find joy in the most unlikely places. The villagers often whispered that she must possess some magical charm or potion, for how else could anyone smile through the hardships that had marked her life? Eloise had buried a husband and 2 children. She had survived the great flood that washed away half the village 40 years ago. She had endured winters so harsh that wolves ventured into the village square seeking food. Yet each morning, she could be seen tending her small garden, humming tunes that not even the oldest villagers recognized. "My dear," she would tell anyone who asked her secret, "happiness isn't something you find, it's something you make, like bread or a warm quilt." Young Mira, the blacksmith's daughter, was particularly fascinated by Eloise. Unlike the other children who thought the old woman slightly odd, Mira would often sit on Eloise's porch, watching her work and asking questions that would make adults uncomfortable. "Grandmother Eloise," she asked one autumn day as crimson leaves danced around them, "how can you smile when you live all alone? Aren't you sad?" Eloise looked up from the herbs she was bundling. "Loneliness is just an empty bowl, child. You can either stare at its emptiness or fill it with something else." She pointed to the village below. "I filled mine with all of you. The baker who saves me the end piece of bread because he knows I like the crust. The cobbler who repairs my shoes without charging because I once nursed his mother. The children who bring me wildflowers in spring. Am I truly alone when I have a village in my heart?" When winter came early that year, bringing with it the harshest cold in memory, Eloise's ancient cottage suffered most. The roof partially collapsed under heavy snow, and the wind whistled through cracks in the walls that no amount of stuffing could silence. The village council met and decided Eloise should stay with different families until repairs could be made in spring. But Eloise refused to leave her home. "This old house and I understand each other," she told the concerned village elder. "We both creak and groan, but we're still standing." Instead, she moved her bed near the fireplace and hung blankets to create a small, warm space within the damaged cottage. When the village children expressed concern about her comfort, she invited them to see her tent kingdom inside the house. "Look," she exclaimed, as they crowded into the makeshift shelter, "I've always wanted to sleep under the stars, and now I can see them through the hole in my roof without getting cold." The children were enchanted, and soon parents grew accustomed to finding their little ones at Eloise's cottage, listening to stories beneath blanket walls while sipping hot elder tea. As winter deepened, Eloise's arthritis worsened, making it difficult for her to collect firewood. The village men brought logs to her door, but she insisted on chopping some herself. "My hands need to remember they are useful," she explained to concerned neighbors. "Besides, every swing of the axe warms me twice, once in the doing and once in the burning." When her beloved garden lay frozen beneath snow, Eloise brought soil inside in clay pots, growing herbs on her windowsill. "The earth never stops giving," she told Mira, who visited almost daily now. "It just changes how it gives." In her damaged cottage during the worst of winter, Eloise kept her spirits up by creating beautiful ice sculptures, her breath visible in the cold air, but her eyes sparkling with creativity as moonlight streamed through the damaged roof. Late one night, as the worst blizzard of the season howled outside, a desperate knocking came at Eloise's door. She opened it to find the miller's wife. "My Thomas has a fever that won't break," the woman sobbed. "The healer is trapped on the other side of the river, and I don't know what to do." Without hesitation, Eloise gathered her herbs and trudged through knee-deep snow to the miller's home. For 3 days, she sat beside the little boy's bed, brewing remedies, singing softly, and telling stories of summer days when fever was just a distant memory. When Thomas's fever finally broke, Eloise collapsed from exhaustion. The villagers realized she had given her own blankets to the child and had been sleeping on bare wood while nursing him. As spring thawed the countryside, something unexpected happened. Villagers appeared at Eloise's cottage, not to check on her, but to rebuild. The blacksmith forged new hinges, the carpenter brought seasoned wood, Children gathered stones from the river for a new hearth. Why? Eloise asked Mira as they watched the village transform her home. Because you taught us that happiness isn't found in perfect circumstances, the girl replied, wise beyond her years. It's built with what we have, where we are. That spring, while Eloise napped in her chair nearby, the village children secretly planted a special section in her garden, creating a heart-shaped garden within her larger garden. Each child planted something different, working quietly but with excitement, as Mira supervised with a hand-drawn map. When summer returned to Mistwood, Eloise's garden bloomed more vibrantly than ever, fertilized by the winter's hardships and the community's love. Village children created a new tradition of gathering there on warm evenings to hear Eloise's stories, tales always filled with challenges, but invariably ending with unexpected joy. Twilight would find them in Eloise's garden with lanterns hung from tree branches, sitting in a circle on colorful blankets while Eloise told stories, her hands creating shadow puppets in the lantern light as fireflies began to appear around them. As the seasons passed, Eloise began teaching teenage Mira the healing arts in her restored and cozy cottage. She demonstrated how to grind herbs while Mira took careful notes, the sunlight streaming through the window, creating a sacred atmosphere around their work. When winter returned again, Eloise found joy in the first snowdrops pushing through snow outside her cottage, her weathered hand gently touching the delicate white blooms emerging from frozen ground, symbols of resilience and returning life. On her 85th birthday, the village held a celebration in her honor. Each family brought something: food, flowers, small handmade gifts. The village square was decorated with lanterns and garlands. Musicians tuned their instruments, and tables were set with the village's best dishes and wildflower arrangements. But the most precious offering came from Mira, now a young woman. For months, she had been sitting at a desk by candlelight, carefully writing in a leather-bound book, collecting all the wisdom she had heard from Eloise over the years. She presented Eloise with the handwritten book titled The Wisdom of Eloise, filled with the old woman's sayings collected over years of listening. Eloise's reaction was stunned and emotional as she held the book to her chest, tears in her eyes. Try to be happy in every situation, read the first page. Not because every situation deserves happiness, but because you deserve it. Eloise clutched the book to her chest, tears glimmering in her eyes. For once she was speechless. That evening, as villagers danced in the square, the celebration in full swing, with music played by local musicians, lanterns and bonfires illuminating the night, and food-laden tables lining the edges, Eloise sat watching from her favorite chair, the book open on her lap. Mira approached and knelt beside her. Are you happy, Grandmother Eloise? She asked softly. The old woman gazed at the celebration, at the village that had become her family, at the young woman who had become her legacy. My dear, she whispered, I'm not trying to be happy anymore. I simply am. And in that moment, in that imperfect village, under a sky threatening rain, the truth of her life's philosophy shone as clearly as the first star appearing overhead. Years later, an adult Mira would sit in Eloise's garden, now her own, reading from the tattered Wisdom of Eloise book to village children gathered around her. Eloise's presence remained, perhaps as a spectral outline among the flowers, or a single white butterfly that landed on the book, her philosophy continuing through generations in the golden afternoon light. If this story brought a smile to your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tales where joy blooms in unexpected places.